CAS and so forth, and just like a lot of stuff that Steve had mentioned about the fire marshal coming down and so forth, there's information, basically what I'm going to express, that we were told when we talked with Mike and the fire marshal, a reference of some of our response times and so forth, which I found no different from what Steve found shocking in distance. I found shocking in response times. Going through the information that I was able to obtain and have at hand from faxes and so forth, there was a lot of errors and so forth, and I got several examples. Like they distinguished that due to this information, they were looking to have BFD come clear down in the Seneca State Forest, pretty much take overall Dunmore area. And part of the things that Mike and that the information that Mike had given to the fire marshal office is saying that we had like an average response time, and this was with the fire department only, not including the ambulance, of 22 minutes. Well, I found that pretty shocking from the time we were dispatched to the time we were en route. And when I went through and started to find some of the clerical errors, I have written here, run number, for example, run number 66669 had us on scene, had our on-scene time listed as our en-route time, which showed us having a 40-minute go-en-route time. And that was the day that we came down in mutual aid, Marlton's fire department over here at Huntersville. And I found it really hard to believe that we were able to travel from Cass to Huntersville in less than a minute. And Mike looked that up, and he was good enough to run the tape and found out that it was an error. And I think that one we were en route in like 12 minutes. Another one that we went through was the call number was 0067. Mike's info showed that, I might add, if I could take a step back, I asked Mike how he did this too, and he took the first unit that he thought was our response unit, so the first truck out.
The foremost last for the first engine.
Right, and so when I found that out, I explained to him, I said that's not always the case with CAS. We have 2 trucks that are set up according to what the call is for our first truck out. 603, which is our engine on structure fires, and then 601, which is our smaller unit, usually responds to our car accidents, fires, rescues, and so forth. So they needed to be blended together, just for the simple fact that 601 was out could have been out several minutes before 603 was, and that's another thing I went and did. But another example was, let's see, Mike's info showed that engine 603 was en route in 14 minutes, but in fact, and I got the fax sheet to show you to prove this, 603 was en route within 2 minutes of being towed. And I personally know that for a fact because I happened to be at the CAS station that day, and I responded in 603 to the fire that was over in Pine Tree Acres in Arborville. And like I said, I have the fact sheet to prove the times on that. Another route time that Mike shows that we were en route. Let me see here. I was just saying the en route time that Mike's sheet had on there happened to be for our tanker that went to that fire that same day. Another error that I came across was run number 0180. It was a mutual aid, again, to assist BFD with a fire in Durban. On that call, it was a really snowy night, so of course everybody took a little bit more time getting to the station. But en route to the station and so forth, there was traffic, and it's on the fact sheet showing that it was in Durban, the fire was, and that BFD had the fire under control. And we basically stood by at the station and was waiting to see if they were still going to need us to make the trip up to Durban. And like I said, it was really bad weather conditions and so forth. And on Mike's sheet, it shows 603 going en route at a time after Buster happened to be the one who canceled everybody because they had fire under control, and it was the time after he canceled everybody. And 603, none of our trucks went en route that day, and I have the fact sheet to show that none of our trucks went en route that day. They're not even listed. Yet that showed like a 40-minute. We have a lot of these 40-minute en route times that don't even exist at our clerical errors. And this really upset us as a department because this information was showing a 22-minute en route time. And they talked about, and they compared it to the Greenbank station, which I believe you said was an average of 7-minute en route time.
6 to 8 minutes.
Well, when I went through and the information I had from the fact sheets that we had, looking at Greenbank's first engine out, I got them having an average response time of 11.5 minutes compared to our corrected time of 15.5 minutes. Now, you know, they had a couple minutes faster response time. But the next thing I like to bring to the Commission's attention, even though they're pushing, as this is a fire thing, was if these boundaries go into existence, the ambulance is going to follow because it's all one unit. And I'm sorry to say, like Steve mentioned before, and the Fire Commission even told me, and I think mentioned to you, that he too felt this whole episode, because they've never had a problem in Pocahontas County before, is all about money. And if the ambulance comes down through, and I feel, and you could look it up on the records, and I asked for the records from Mike about our ambulance, because I got the ones on the truck, and I also asked for the records for BFD, and he explained to me that I had to get permission from Buster Janet to get that information. I feel that if we're being compared to another agency, then we should have a right to look at all their times as well, so we could put this information together accurately. Because I feel that CAS has a much better response time and showing up on calls than BFD does, and I think the records will show that. So what do you do with somebody that might have a couple minute faster fire truck response time, but then our ambulance makes up a major difference to that? I don't think it's to reward them with half of our territory. And it's about revenue. That's where the big revenue is. Ambulance runs, car accidents, and you know, the thing that was also brought up that Marlton's looking at, and from my understanding proceeding forward with, is this fire fee. In corporate areas are allowed to put out a fire fee in their first due area from the research that I hear in the news and everything's being done. Well, unfortunately, Frost and Cass are not in corporate areas. And if BFD obtains, again, the push to get that Dunmore area, that's a lot more homes that we right now currently depend on for our volunteer subscribers that are going to be, if they decide to do that, that Marlton's doing, is going to be forced into a fire fee. And it's just, you know, the whole financial issue of it, it's all about money. And I think the whole thing has to be looked at as a whole, and you just can't compare something on the fire department side, because, you know, we as a department have been working really hard to make improvements, always getting better. For example, this past year we've invested over $200,000 in our department. We've upgraded our Life Pack 12s to Life Pack 15s. It cost us about $55,000. We have bought a brand new 2016 ambulance, Ford 350 4x4, that hopefully will be here in the next week or two. And we've also, another big improvement that we've made is we've acquired property at the Cass intersection. Now, back in the day of the early 90s, when Cass was only 6 miles away from Greenbank, and BFD had their station up just in Durban, and it was 13 miles away, by golly, we couldn't step foot in that area, even though we were that close. And that was a big headbutt issue going on. And then they built their station there in Arborvale to take hold of, you know, the help with their service area down there. We're looking to do almost the exact same thing at the Cass intersection, okay, to help with our membership being spread through our area, just to help to get the equipment faster and so forth. And I was told that, even though I let Mike know that and the fire marshal know that, you know, oh, well, they already have a station in Arborvale. Well, at that day, we already had a station in Cass. How come it didn't apply then? How come we can't do, or we're being told it doesn't matter, that we want to better our service in our service area, because there's already a station somewhere else. I don't think that's fair. We should have the same opportunity as the neighboring company had. And these are things that I want to let the commission know, that we're working really hard to keep improving our area, to make it better. Again, you know, yeah, they might, looking at the statistics, have a little bit, couple minute faster response time with their fire trucks, but I think you'll see it make up in a difference with the ambulance runs. You know, they've been down in our area, I looked over the last 5 years. In the last 5 years, to give you an example with the ambulance, they've been in our area to assist us, whether, you know, whatever reason, 5 times on average once a year. In the 5-year period, we averaged 13 times up in their area covering their calls for 66 times over the last 5 years. And I think that should say something. We've been doing our area for almost 30 years. That should say something, you know, in covering stuff. And, you know, I think that should, the boundaries that we currently have, I think we've been servicing them well, and I think we should continue just to leave it be as it is, and not be, you know, pushing about how fast somebody can get here or somebody can get there, because a lot of those times are due to either weather conditions or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times we have personnel on scene before the trucks are even rolling anyway, and that should all be looked at. All right, I thank you for your time. I didn't mean